Welcome to the Amazon Seller Q&A episode 2. First question is from Ryan, and he's saying that he's selling on Mexico and Canada, and these two markets have been increasingly problematic for him, and Amazon also never gave him an option to opt out. I fully agree with you, Ryan. Just like you, I also used to sell a lot in the North American global markets, which is Canada and Mexico. But I eventually opted out of those since, yes, initially it's very exciting as you're seeing about a 5 or 7% bump up in sales across the board. You're selling more overall, but the returns are way more expensive. And the reason for that is every time a customer returns an item from Canada or from Mexico, who has to pay for those additional fees? You do. So I have personally opted out. I recommend other people also to opt out from those two markets. To opt out from those two markets is very simple. There are 2 steps that I do. Number 1, you go to your little gear icon on the top right corner of your Amazon Seller Central, and you go to Fulfillment by Amazon. And then under those settings, you are going to opt out from the export settings. So find the export settings, and by default, it's enabled, and you want it to be disabled. Obviously, Amazon will put everything enabled according to their best settings that makes Amazon the most money. But you want to go to Amazon Seller Central and disable or enable things that make you the most money. And the other second thing that I do is go to your vacation settings and turn on vacation setting for every single marketplace except the United States marketplace. And that is just to ensure that every other marketplace except the United States is going to be on vacation. That way you tell Amazon to not sell in those marketplaces. I hope that helps. Second question of the day is, have you started selling on Walmart Marketplace? And no, I haven't, and the reason is I got my account suspended with Walmart Marketplace a few years ago. About when Walmart Marketplace just came out several years ago, I signed up for an account, of course. I wanted to test it out. And back in the day, I was also testing out some drop shipping from wholesalers. So one of the really cool wholesalers that I found was Fiji Water. And I signed up for a wholesale account with Fiji Water. And I was basically drop shipping their 12 or 24 pack of water directly from their warehouse to Walmart buyers through the Walmart Marketplace. Bear in mind, I was using Walmart Marketplace not as like an F equivalent where you send it to their warehouse. Instead of that, I was shipping directly to customer. But instead of me shipping myself, I never touched the product. I was drop shipping it directly from the Fiji Water wholesale department. I was submitting the order, and it was extremely profitable. I think I made about $7,000 in net profit doing that until Walmart caught up with me, and they basically realized that I was not shipping from my own residential address or my own warehouse, and the orders were being shipped from all kinds of places across the United States because Fiji Wholesale has departments everywhere across the United States to help them with their own logistics. And within a few months of doing that, and after making some decent amount of money, they suspended my account. So that was the end of my short drop shipping career and my test of the Walmart Marketplace account. I could potentially open up a new account, but I'm really way too busy doing Amazon. So I do recommend people to test it out if you haven't, and test out everything that you can and see if it's better than Amazon, if it's worse, if it's equal. and then based on your results, continue or focus on one single thing. Right, the third question today is, can you make a video on how to set up FBM shipping templates? So I'm probably not the best person to ask about FBM, since 99.9% of all my items are being sold FBA. That's what I like the most because I can scale it to the moon. But I have done FBM in the past, and I still do a little FBM when I want to sell like a very expensive unit, for example, or a unit that requires prompt action because I'm afraid that the price is going to drop or something like that. But I do have my FBM shipping templates already set up. I'm not sure if it's the best way to set them up, but the way that I do it, go to the gear icon on the upper right corner in Seller Central, and I do offer free shipping in all my items. I don't charge for additional shipping, and I do factor in basically like a flat fee shipping in all my FBM units. So, for example, if I know that the item that I'm selling is going to cost me around $6 if it's a very tiny package to ship anywhere in the United States, it might be a little bit less if it's closer to my location. Or if it's a much bigger and heavier package, it might cost me a maximum of, let's say, $20 flat anywhere in the country. Then I will have already factored that in my profit calculations. But for the customer itself, I offer free shipping, but I also do offer an expedited option. So if they want it right away, then Amazon calculates that shipping for them, and then they can get it right away. But I do need on my end a shipper, somebody who fulfills the unit, to actually pay more for that expedited shipping. But because the buyer has already paid it beforehand, then my profit calculations stay the same. I hope that helps. Has anybody ever ordered all of your FBA inventory and their payment still says pending in Amazon Seller Central? Yes, that happens a lot. So the reason that happens is Amazon will not charge the end buyer until Amazon has shipped your item from the FBA warehouse to the buyer. So if your product is still being inspected or being received and it's not ready to be shipped, which happens a lot, sometimes your product listing will come live so that buyers can buy it immediately, but your product itself, it's still down the line on the inspection and receiving process in FBA, so it's not fully available. So the buyer buys it, but then Amazon needs a little bit of time still to ship it out. Once it ships it out, it will charge the customer. That's why it says payment processing. Now you want to keep an eye on those, because I had a few scenarios where some of my units were payment processing for literally 2 months. And I reached out to Amazon and explained the situation, and they actually had to cancel the order manually because there was some type of glitch in the system. Because as long as it says payment processing, your item is basically in limbo. It can't be bought by anybody else, and it can't be shipped to the customer. So you're making no money on that item. So keep an eye on those, and it shouldn't be more than 2.5 weeks in payment processing. Once it goes past 2.5 weeks, manually reach out to Amazon, tell them what's happening, and they will manually reset it so that it gets canceled. So this is a great question. In cases where you go to the retailer page and the retailer page does not show the UPC code, even after you do that little trick that I show you on prior videos, where you do the right click on your mouse and you go to view page source, and then in command find or control find you type GTIN or UPC, and seeing if the UPC number actually shows up on the source code. If it doesn't show up, which in many cases they don't, in Walmart.com, for example, they do, in Target they do, but in this question, they are trying to find the UPC code in soccer.com. And if they don't show up, what do you do? Well, many times you won't be able to match the exact UPC code, but as long as the product looks the same, it matches the description, the weight, the size, the variation, the color, everything about that product looks exactly the same, then it will fulfill buyers' expectations of that product. So it's good to go and good to purchase. Just make sure that every single thing, dimensions, everything about that product looks pretty much the same. Remember that manufacturers oftentimes update their packaging just to stay relevant and to stay to get their marketing up. So don't be bothered by an upgraded package as long as it's the same weight, the same ounces, the same product, then you're good to go. So when you're just starting out, what's stopping you from maxing out your cart and buying as many units as you can? Is your question. Well, that would be a horrible strategy, especially if you're just starting out. If you're just starting out, established seller even, and you are encountering a new product that has a lot of potential, you should always do what we call a test buy. A test buy is basically where you buy enough units to be comfortable with and to not have FOMO, fear of missing out. And once you get them and you start selling them, you buy some more. You don't go ahead and buy 1,000, 2,000 of units of a product that you've never sold before. You go little by little. That way you don't get stuck with a giant buy of a lot of things that is just going to be sitting there in the FBA warehouse because for one other reason it's not selling. You also need to take into account how many sellers are on the listing, how much stock each of the sellers have, and what the sales velocity that product has. So how many sales per month does it have? And really only consider sellers as true competitors if they are at the same pricing that you want to be at or below that pricing. Anybody that has a pricing that is above your target pricing is not a true competitor, because you're going to probably win the buy box many times than them because your pricing is more competitive. So for example, if you're on a listing with 20 sellers and your pricing is $30 and two other sellers are priced at $30, but then all the other sellers are priced at 31, 32, 35, you're not going to be competing against all those. You're only going to be competing against those two that are priced at your level. So all that is part of your KEPA analysis, your product analysis, and based on all that, then you determine, is this a good product to buy? And how many units should I buy for my test buy? Don't go wild just because you think this is going to be a hit. Buy as many as you feel comfortable with. because there is always a tiny chance that for whatever XY reason, something happens and your product might be stranded for months without selling. So make sure to buy just enough to be able to determine if that product is going to be successfully selling. And if it is, you can always replenish it in the near future. So that is it for today's Q&A. Remember to ask your questions. There is never a bad questions. Just ask them. Put your question down on the YouTube comments. Or if you're a member of my free Discord, just ask it there. I look at those two platforms every single day. And if I see that this is a question I haven't answered in the past, I will take a screenshot and then I will answer that and I'll make a good video about it so that you have the answer. Also, make sure to check all my free resources at dailyhernan.com, URL right here. And if you're interested in getting my online arbitrage leads, which I source myself every single day, go to myoaleads.com and sign up. And you will be getting my via email all my leads every single morning. I hope this was helpful. Make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one. In the meantime, keep up the great work.